First contacts reversal. The Galactic Union vessel Stellar Observer dropped out of quantum space at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight into rainbow patterns. High Commander Zextal watched Earth's blue sphere through the ship's observation dome, mandibles clicking in anticipation of an easy survey mission. Standard approach pattern, he ordered, his exoskeletal fingers dancing across holographic controls. Let's see what these primitives have been up to since our last visit. His science officer, Valoran, monitored incoming sensor data with all four eyes. Strange energy readings from their Arctic region, Commander. Nothing like their usual emissions pattern. The words died in Valoran's throat as proximity alarms screamed across the bridge. Space itself seemed to fold inward several thousand kilometers ahead, and from this dimensional pocket emerged a vessel that defied comprehension. It was massive, easily 5 times the length of their survey ship. Its hull gleamed with a metal unknown to Galactic Union science, covered in geometric patterns that pulsed with internal energy. Most disturbing of all, it moved with an agility that should have been impossible for its size. Impossible, Zextal whispered. Their technology was barely past chemical rockets during our last survey. Galactic Union vessel Stellar Observer. A calm human voice filled their bridge, somehow bypassing all their communication protocols. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth defense vessel Guardian's Dawn. You have entered restricted space without proper authorization. Please state your purpose. Zextal's antenna twitched in agitation. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. They were the advanced civilization, not these upstart humans. This is High Commander Zextal. We are conducting a routine survey of developing worlds, as per Galactic Union Protocol Section. Your protocols are no longer applicable, Captain Chen interrupted, her voice carrying an edge of steel beneath its professional tone. Earth is not a developing world. We haven't been for some time. As if to emphasize her point, 2 more vessels materialized alongside the Guardian's Dawn, smaller but no less impressive. Their sensor officer's kitten practically rattled as she reported, "Commander, their energy signatures. They're using quantum fold technology. But that's impossible. Even we barely understand its theoretical principles." Captain Chen. Zextal tried to maintain his diplomatic composure. Surely we can discuss this. The Galactic Union only wishes to ensure peaceful development off. What you wish, Chen cut in, is to maintain your technological superiority. We've known about your surveillance for decades. We simply chose not to reveal ourselves until we were ready. The human ships moved in perfect formation, surrounding the Stellar Observer in a display of precision that made Zextal's internal organs clench. Their sensors reported power readings that shouldn't have been possible. 3 years ago, Chen continued, we discovered something in our Arctic ice, something left behind by those who came before any of us. They chose humanity as their inheritors, High Commander. Not the Union, not the Collective, not any other spacefaring race. Us. Zextal's bridge crew watched in stunned silence as a holographic display materialized in their command center, again bypassing all security protocols. It showed the excavation of a vast structure from Earth's ice and the subsequent activation of technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. The Union has 2 options, Chen stated clearly. You can accept Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs, or you can maintain your current stance and watch as we reshape the balance of power anyway. The choice is yours, but be aware, we are done being watched from the shadows. To demonstrate her point, the Guardian's Dawn executed a maneuver that bent space itself, reappearing instantly on their other side. The display of technological superiority was unmistakable. I will have to consult with the Union Council, Zextal managed, his mandibles quivering. Of course, Chen's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. You have 48 Earth hours to deliver their response. In the meantime, please enjoy this data package detailing our new diplomatic protocols. Information flooded their systems, somehow integrating seamlessly with their databases. The technical sophistication required to accomplish such a feat was staggering. As the stellar observer prepared to depart, Zextal couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity hadn't just caught up to the galactic community, they had leapfrogged past them entirely. "Send priority message to Union Council," he ordered, watching the human ships glide effortlessly through space. Message begins. "First contact protocols have failed. Earth possesses technology beyond our understanding. The balance of power has shifted. The primitives we sought to study have become our superiors. May the ancients help us all." The quantum fold drive engaged, and the stellar observer vanished into subspace, leaving behind a human civilization that had finally revealed its true face to the galaxy. The age of observation was over. The age of humanity had begun. The Arctic Legacy. 3 years earlier. Ellesmere Island, Canadian Arctic. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez stood at the edge of the excavation pit, his breath forming clouds in the -40°C air. The enormous cavity carved into the ancient ice descended nearly a kilometer into the earth, its walls illuminated by plasma lamps that cast an ethereal blue glow across the crystalline surfaces. "Tell me I'm not hallucinating," he said into his comm unit, eyes fixed on the massive structure they've uncovered. "Tell me you're all seeing this too." "Confirmed on all sensors," Dr. Wei Chang responded from the research station's command center. "Whatever this is, it's definitely not natural formation. The geometric patterns are too precise." The structure's surface was a seamless dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Intricate patterns covered its visible portions, reminiscent of circuit boards but far more complex, occasionally pulsing with a deep blue luminescence. Thermal imaging shows it's maintaining a constant temperature despite being encased in ice for what must be millennia, Dr. Sarah Chen added, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Before her promotion to captain of the Guardian's Dawn, she'd been the lead physicist on the project. "It's still active, Marcus. After all this time, it's still running." A team of researchers in thermal suits worked carefully around the structure's perimeter, using advanced scanning equipment to map its full extent. They'd found it purely by accident. A routine geological survey had detected anomalous energy readings that shouldn't have existed this deep in the ice. "Getting more data from the quantum resonance scan," Wei reported. "The internal chamber, it's bigger than our instruments initially suggested. Some kind of space-folding technology. The physics don't make any sense." Marcus approached the structure's surface, his specialized sensors recording everything. "The patterns are changing. They're responding to our presence. Look at this." He reached out, his gloved hand hovering near the metal. The patterns nearest his palm began shifting, flowing like liquid while maintaining their precise geometric nature. A section of the wall simply ceased to exist, revealing a corridor that seemed to defy spatial logic. "Tell me someone else is recording this," he breathed. "All sensors active," Sarah confirmed. "Military oversight has been notified. They're scrambling a containment team. But, Marcus, if you're getting readings like I think you are, this is beyond anything they could hope to contain." Inside the revealed corridor, soft light emanated from the walls themselves. The air was perfectly room-temperatured, despite being surrounded by Arctic ice. Marcus's sensors reported an atmosphere identical to Earth's. "It was waiting for us," he realized. "All this time, it was just waiting for us to find it." The research team spent the next 72 hours documenting everything. What they found reshaped humanity's understanding of not just physics, but their place in the cosmos. The structure wasn't just a building. It was a repository of knowledge, a library left behind by a civilization so advanced they could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. "Look at these," Sarah said, examining holographic displays that had activated in one of the chambers. "They're not just showing us their technology. They're teaching us how to build it. The quantum fold drive, gravitational manipulation, dark energy harvesting. It's all here." "But why?" Wei asked the question they'd all been thinking. "Why leave this for us to find?" The answer came 3 weeks into their investigation. In a central chamber, They found a message encoded in mathematical principles, so universal it could be understood by any species capable of advanced physics. Marcus read the translation aloud, his voice echoing in the ancient hall. To those who find this vault, you have proven yourselves worthy. Your species has demonstrated the necessary combination of intelligence, determination, and innovation required to discover this facility. You did this on your own, without interference or guidance from other spacefaring races. He continued, the galaxy is filled with civilizations that achieve space travel through copying others' technology, through chance discoveries, or through being uplifted by existing powers. You are different. You found your own path here. Therefore, you are ready for what we have left behind. Sarah's eyes widened as she processed the implications. They've been watching. All this time, they knew about the Galactic Union monitoring us. They wanted to see if we'd develop on our own despite that. And now they're giving us everything. Y whispered, all their knowledge, all their technology. We're not just catching up to the galaxy's powers, we're going to surpass them. Over the next 3 years, humanity worked in secret, absorbing and implementing the ancient knowledge. The Guardian's Dawn was just the first of many vessels built using principles that the galaxy's greatest minds had barely theorized about. They developed defenses against observation, cloaking their true progress from the Union's prying eyes. When the stellar observer arrived that fateful day, humanity was more than ready. They had become what the ancients believed they could be, a species that would reshape the galaxy's future. Marcus stood in the Guardian's Dawn's observation deck, watching Earth grow smaller as they prepared to demonstrate their new capabilities to the Union. The ancient structure's patterns were echoed in the ship's design, a reminder of the legacy they'd inherited. Ready to rewrite history? Sarah asked, now Captain Chen, standing beside him. Marcus smiled, thinking of the message they'd found in the vault. I think we already have. The question is, are they ready for what comes next? The Guardian's Dawn's quantum fold drive engaged, and they set out to show the galaxy exactly what humanity had become. Power shift. The grand chamber of the Galactic Union sprawled across an artificial planetoid at the galaxy's political center. Representatives from over 3,000 civilizations filled the vast amphitheater, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of evolutionary paths. Today, every seat was occupied, a rare occurrence that spoke to the gravity of the situation. Supreme Chancellor Vexna of the Artaxian Collective stood at the central podium, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep distress to those who could read such signs. The holographic display behind her showed the Guardian's Dawn in action, its impossible maneuvers playing on repeat. The data is conclusive, she announced, her translator converting her harmonic speech into standard galactic basic. Humanity has achieved technological superiority in multiple fields, seemingly overnight. The questions before this council are simple: how, and what do we do about it? The chamber erupted in overlapping voices and electromagnetic communications. Ambassador Catal of the Silicon Consciousness raised all 4 of their sensor arrays. The humans must have had outside help. It violates all known development patterns for a species to advance so rapidly. Our analysis suggests otherwise. General Zinra of Military Intelligence countered, his scaled hide-shifting colors with emphasis. The technology they're using doesn't match any known civilization's development path. It's entirely novel, and more significantly, it's beyond our current theoretical understanding. From the observation gallery, Captain Sarah Chen watched the proceedings with diplomatic liaison Marcus Rodriguez at her side. They'd been invited to observe but not participate, at least not yet. They're afraid, Marcus murmured, monitoring the various species' biological stress indicators on his neural interface, not just of what we can do, but of what it means for their understanding of the universe. Sarah nodded slightly. Fear makes some species dangerous, others malleable. The question is which are which. Below, Chancellor Vexna called for order as a new hologram appeared, a detailed analysis of the Guardian's Dawn's capabilities. Our best estimates suggest their quantum fold drive is at least 4 generations beyond our most advanced prototypes. Their energy manipulation technology operates on principles we've only theorized about. And most concerning, they've demonstrated the ability to bypass our most sophisticated security systems with ease. The humans must be contained, shouted Representative Yorl of the Hegemony Worlds, their gas-based form swirling agitatedly. We cannot allow a single species to possess such power. And how exactly do you propose to contain a civilization that can rewrite spatial laws at will? This came from Ambassador Lyanna of the Collective of Free Worlds, her bioluminescent patterns suggesting both amusement and concern. Perhaps we should consider a different approach. Humanity has not acted aggressively despite possessing these capabilities for some time. They chose to reveal themselves rather than attack. The chamber grew quiet as Captain Chen's comm unit chimed loudly, a deliberate attention-getting tactic. All eyes and sensory organs turned to the observation gallery as she stood. "If I may address the council," she asked, her voice carrying easily in the sudden silence. Chancellor Vexna's crystalline form shifted in what many recognized as resignation. "The council recognizes Captain Chen of Earth." Sarah stepped forward to the gallery's edge. "Distinguished representatives, you're asking the wrong questions. The issue isn't how to contain us or what to do about us. The real question is, why were we chosen?" The holographic display behind her changed to show the Arctic facility. The technology we discovered wasn't randomly placed. It wasn't a forgotten relic or an abandoned outpost. It was a test, and humanity passed. She let that sink in before continuing. "The beings you call the ancients, the ones who vanished from the galaxy long before any of our civilizations arose, they left this gift specifically for whoever could find it on their own merits. Not through copying others, not through being uplifted, but through independent development and determination. And you believe this gives humanity the right to upset the galaxy's balance of power?" Yorl demanded. "No," Sarah replied calmly. "What gives us that right is the simple fact that we can. But what we choose to do with that capability. That's why I'm here today." Marcus stepped forward, activating a new holographic display. "We're proposing a restructuring of the Galactic Union, not as conquerors or overlords, but as equals who happen to possess advanced technology. We believe the ancients chose us not just for our capability to find their gift, but for what they believed we would do with it." The display showed a new organizational structure, one that maintained the Union's basic framework, but introduced new safeguards and opportunities for technological sharing. "Humanity remembers its history," Sarah continued. "We remember what it's like to be watched from above, to be considered primitive, to be denied a true place at the table. We have no intention of becoming what we once resented." Chancellor Vexna's crystalline form shifted in complex patterns. "And if we refuse your proposal, then we go our own way," Sarah answered simply. "We continue to develop and advance, and you continue to fall further behind. The choice is yours, but consider this. The ancients left their legacy to us for a reason. Perhaps it's worth understanding why before deciding if we're worthy of our inheritance." The chamber erupted in discussion again, but this time the tenor was different. Fear still lingered, but now it mixed with curiosity, opportunity, and, from some quarters, hope. In the gallery, Marcus leaned close to Sarah. "Think they'll accept?" She watched the political maneuvering below with a slight smile. "They don't have much choice. The real question is what happens after they do." The future of the galaxy hung in the balance as ancient powers grappled with a new reality, one where humanity held the keys to technological advancement beyond their dreams. The power shift was inevitable. The only question was how smoothly the transition would occur. And in high orbit around Earth, the Guardian's Dawn waited, a symbol of both humanity's achievement and the responsibility that came with it. Trial by fire. The attack came without warning. A fleet of warships belonging to the Hegemony Worlds dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's orbit, their weapons already charged. Leading them was the dreadnought Inevitable Dominion, its crystalline hull bristling with energy projectors. In the Guardian's Dawn's command center, Captain Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with unnatural calm. "Right on schedule," she murmured. "You expected this?" First Officer Marcus Rodriguez asked, though he already knew the answer. The ship's neural interface had picked up Sarah's elevated preparation protocols hours earlier. "The hegemony was never going to accept a peaceful transition," she replied. "Better they show their hand now, while we're ready for them." She opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, battle stations, initiating Protocol Aegis." The Guardian's Dawn's hull began to shift, its geometric patterns flowing like liquid metal as hidden systems activated. Throughout the ship, crew members interfaced with their stations through neural links that operated on principles the rest of the galaxy was centuries from understanding. "Hegemony fleet advancing," Tactical Officer Yuki Tanaka reported, detecting energy signatures consistent with their newest capital ship weapons. "They're not holding anything back." "Incoming transmission," communications announced. The holographic display showed Supreme Commander Yorl, their gaseous forms swirling with aggressive patterns. "Surrender your technological database immediately, or we will take it by force. You cannot hope to resist the combined might of the hegemony worlds." Sarah's response was to smile. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? This isn't a battle for survival. It's your final exam." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Remember your training. Everything we learned from the archive has led to this moment. Activate the Nexus core." Deep within the Guardian's Dawn, systems that defied conventional physics hummed to life. The ship's quantum field expanded, creating a bubble of altered space-time around it. To outside observers, it seemed to blur, becoming harder to focus on. The hegemony fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams converged on the Guardian's Dawn's position, only to pass through empty space as the ship seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. "Quantum state defense holding," Yuki reported. "Their weapons can't lock onto our actual position in spacetime." "Show them what we've learned," Sarah ordered. The Guardian's Dawn's response was devastating in its elegance. Instead of conventional weapons, it released waves of focused quantum distortions. Where these waves touched hegemony ships, reality itself seemed to hiccup. Weapons systems went offline, power cores destabilized, and in some cases, sections of ships simply ceased to exist before reappearing hundreds of kilometers away. "By the ancients," Marcus whispered, watching the display. "We're not just fighting them. We're rewriting the rules of combat itself." The inevitable Dominion charged forward, its massive hull absorbing tremendous damage as it tried to close the distance. "Their commander's desperate," Sarah observed. "They know if they fail here, the balance of power shifts permanently." "Captain," Yuki called out, detecting power buildup in their main reactor. "They're going to try to overload it, take us out in the blast." Sarah's expression hardened. That would tear a hole in space-time that would threaten the entire solar system. She opened a channel to the hegemony flagship. "Commander Yorl, stand down. Your reactor breach would cause catastrophic damage to this entire sector. Better that than allowing one species to dominate the galaxy." Yorl's voice was frantic. "We're not trying to dominate anyone," Sarah replied calmly. "We're trying to show you there's another way." She turned to her crew. "Activate the Harmony Protocol." The Guardian's Dawn's geometric patterns began pulsing with blinding intensity. Waves of quantum energy radiated outward, but instead of destroying, they began to reshape. The hegemony ships found their reactors being stabilized, their weapons gently but firmly deactivated, their systems restored to normal function. "Impossible," Yorl whispered, their gaseous form practically static with shock. "You have the power to destroy us all, yet we choose not to," Sarah finished. "The ancients didn't give us weapons, Commander. They gave us understanding. The ability to reshape reality isn't about destruction. It's about harmony." She gestured, and the quantum field expanded further, enveloping the entire hegemony fleet in a bubble of stable spacetime. "Your weapons are disabled. Your reactors stabilized," she continued. "You're free to leave, but I suggest you take a message back to your leaders. The age of military dominance is over. We have the power to prevent any large-scale conflict in this galaxy, and we will use it, not through destruction, but through understanding and control of the fundamental forces that shape our universe." The hegemony fleet hung motionless in space, their mighty weapons reduced to decorative fixtures by technology they couldn't begin to comprehend. One by one, they began to retreat, their hyperdrives only functioning after they transmitted formal surrender protocols. As the last ship disappeared, Marcus turned to Sarah. "You knew this would happen. The Ancients, they weren't just testing our ability to find their technology, were they?" Sarah shook her head. "They were testing our wisdom in using it. The archive wasn't just a repository of scientific knowledge. It was a lesson in responsibility. Today, we proved we learned that lesson." The Guardian's Dawn's quantum field slowly retracted, its systems returning to standby mode. But something had fundamentally changed in the galaxy's power structure. It wasn't just that humanity had advanced technology. They had demonstrated a philosophy of power that the other species had never considered. "Send word to the Galactic Union," Sarah ordered. "Tell them we're ready to begin sharing what we've learned. But only with those who understand that knowledge without wisdom is just another form of destruction." As the ship turned back toward Earth, its crew understood that they had passed more than just a military test. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their choice of how to use it. New dawn. 1 year later, the ancient archive, Earth's Arctic region. The chamber that had once been sealed in ice now hosted representatives from across the galaxy. Its walls pulsed with living light as Captain Sarah Chen, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Union, stood before the assembled delegation. "Welcome to where it all began," she said, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. "For the first time since we discovered this facility, we're opening its deepest chambers to representatives of all spacefaring species." The diverse crowd included crystalline Artaxians, gaseous hegemony observers, under close supervision, silicon-based intelligences, and dozens of other species. Even Commander Yorl was present, their gaseous form noticeably more stable after the lessons of their failed attack. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, leading the research team, activated the chamber's central holographic system. The entire room transformed into a three-dimensional star map of the galaxy, but unlike any the visitors had seen before. Scattered throughout were pulsing points of light, thousands of them. "These," Marcus explained, "are other archives, some buried on planets, others hidden in asteroid fields or inside stars, each one waiting to be found, each containing different pieces of the Ancients' legacy. We weren't the only chosen inheritors, we were just the first to find our archive." The revelation sent ripples of surprise through the assembled delegates. Chancellor Vexna's crystalline form vibrated with intense emotion. "You mean there are more facilities like this one?" "The Ancients didn't believe in monopolies," Sarah confirmed. "They believed in potential. Each archive is different, containing knowledge and technology suited to the species that might find it. But they can only be discovered through independent development, through pushing the boundaries of understanding without relying on borrowed technology." She gestured, and the hologram zoomed in on several locations. "We've already detected signs of other civilizations approaching their own revelations. The Centauri Collective is close to finding their archive. The Silicon Consciousness has been orbiting theirs for decades without recognizing it. Even the hegemony worlds," she nodded to Commander Yorl, "have one waiting for them, when they're ready to discover it on their own terms." "But why?" asked Ambassador Catal of the Silicon Consciousness. "Why create such an elaborate system of technological inheritance?" The answer came from the chamber itself. The walls shifted, and a new hologram appeared, a message left by the Ancients, now finally complete with humanity's discovery of the facility's deepest levels. A figure appeared, its form deliberately neutral to speak to any species. If you are seeing this, then the first phase is complete. One species has found their archive and proven worthy of its contents. Now begins the true test. The figure gestured, and the galaxy map reappeared, showing complex patterns of interaction between the various archive locations. We did not leave these facilities to create new empires or dominant species. We left them to forge connections. Each archive contains different knowledge, different insights, different paths of advancement. No single species can possess all the answers. Only by working together, by sharing their discoveries and combining their unique perspectives, can the younger races achieve their full potential. Sarah stepped forward again. This is why we've gathered you here today. Humanity's archive contained the keys to quantum manipulation and spatial engineering. But we've learned it's just one piece of a larger puzzle. The Artaxians' archive, once they find it, may contain the secrets of consciousness transfer. The silicon consciousness might discover biological integration protocols. The Hegemony's facility likely holds the keys to energy manipulation we can't even conceive of yet. You're proposing an alliance, Chancellor Vexna realized, not based on military power or technological superiority, but on shared discovery. The ancients didn't disappear, Marcus added. They evolved, ascended to a level of existence we can barely comprehend. But they left us a roadmap to follow, not as individual species, but as a galactic community. The chamber's lights pulsed with new patterns as Sarah activated humanity's first major contribution to this new alliance. We call it the Convergence Initiative, a framework for cooperation that will help species discover their own archives while sharing insights in a way that promotes cooperation rather than competition. She turned to Commander Yorl. Your attack on Earth wasn't a failure. It was a necessary step in understanding. You proved that military power alone can't secure advancement. Now you have the chance to prove something greater. The gaseous commander swirled thoughtfully, and humanity will share its discoveries freely, even after our aggression. Especially after your aggression. Sarah smiled. Because that's the final test the ancients left us, the ability to rise above conflict and work towards something greater. The holographic display shifted again, showing the countless possible connections between civilizations, a web of potential cooperation that spanned the galaxy. Every species in this room has an archive waiting for them. Sarah concluded. Some may take years to find, others centuries. But they're there, waiting for the right moment, the right development, the right understanding. Humanity's role isn't to dominate this process, but to facilitate it, to help each species find their own path while ensuring the knowledge is used for advancement rather than destruction. The Guardian's Dawn appeared in the hologram, but now it was joined by new ships of similar design, each incorporating elements of different species' technology. This is just the beginning, Marcus said. Imagine what we can achieve together, each bringing our own piece of the ancients' legacy to create something entirely new. As the delegates began discussing the implications, Sarah walked to the chamber's ancient walls, placing her hand on their living surface. The patterns shifted beneath her touch, responding to the presence of all the assembled species. The ancients had planned this moment, crafted this convergence of civilizations across millennia of careful preparation. The age of isolation was over. The age of true cooperation was about to begin. And somewhere, in dimensions beyond normal spacetime, the ancients watched as their inheritors took their first steps toward a future even they couldn't fully predict. The new dawn had arrived, not just for humanity, but for all spacefaring civilization. The real question was, what would they create together?